Am I the a-hole for telling my friend I don't want to be her bridesmaid anymore? My friend Mary and I have known each other since we were children. We've grown apart over the past few years, but she still considers me important enough to make me a bridesmaid. Her wedding is set to be in 3 weeks. One reason why I sort of distanced myself from her was because of her treatment of my relationship. My boyfriend Jack and I have been together for 3.5 years. He's a wonderful person, and there is no doubt in my mind that this is the man I want to marry. But Mary is under the impression that Jack is too good for me. Jack comes from a very wealthy background. His parents are certainly very wealthy. He was practically guaranteed a lavish life from the moment he left the womb. This is in stark contrast to my childhood. I grew up in a low-income neighborhood, often wondering where my next meal was or how I was going to help pay the bills at a young age, etc. I'm grateful and proud for where I am today. Jack is considered to be conventionally attractive, always looking like he should be on some magazine or a billboard somewhere. Jack's good looks and background have led Mary to believe that Jack deserves better than me, as according to her, there's no way I could have pulled someone so attractive and rich. It's pretty disheartening to hear those things constantly, and it does kind of take a toll on you and a friendship. Whenever Jack is around, she's quite polite and respectful, never once making those comments. Eventually, the comments stopped. Mary invited me for lunch with her fiancé and his friend, Gary. From the moment I arrived, Mary and her fiancé were consumed in their own conversation, paying no attention to both of us. It was fine, as Gary seemed to be a great lad with great chat. He asked me why I was single, and I told him that I was in a happy, committed relationship. He was very taken aback by my answer. He told me that Mary had set up a blind date, double date of sorts for the both of us. I was very confused and slightly angry. I didn't want to be confrontational at lunch, especially in public, so I just carried on with the lunch. Luckily, Gary wasn't upset and ended up making a few jokes about the whole ordeal. I called Mary later on the day to ask her a ton of questions about why she thought it was okay to do that. At first, she tried to deny it, but then she tried to justify it by saying that Gary is a man who's more in my league, and since he was also a groomsman, we needed to get to know each other better. I was shocked by her bluntness, so I just told her that I didn't want to be her bridesmaid anymore. Granted, it was a pretty impulsive decision, but I still stand by it. Mary didn't take it well, trying to apologize and saying that it was a mistake. It's been a few days, and her fiancé has been texting me, asking me to suck it up for the wedding. I feel petty and conflicted right now. Edit. Jack knows about the date. I wouldn't keep that from him. Now, for the top comments. You are so absolutely not the a-hole, and you should have dumped this friend the minute she told you Jack was too good for you. Don't let her change your mind. This, not the a-hole. She sounds kind of jealous, to be honest. But this conniving behavior is insane. Be sure to block any more flying monkeys coming your way about just suck it up for the wedding. The phrase flying monkeys gave me a small laugh. Thanks. This girl is not your friend. She's jealous your partner is good looking and well off. I would not only not be her bridesmaid, but I also wouldn't attend a wedding. She has no respect for your relationship. I would simply tell her fiancé that you stand by your decision, and he should be questioning whether or not he wants to marry someone that acts that way. Not the a-hole. What the hell? Is she jealous or something because it strongly sounds like it? She not only set you up, she also hurt Gary over this. This is absolutely terrible. And if this is some weird, perfect, upstaging wedding ploy, she needs to stop now. It is entirely understandable to distance yourself from someone who gaslights and manipulates you like this. She has been actively insulting you. Like, it wasn't because she was worried about you. She thinks you aren't good enough and don't deserve him. This is absolutely disgusting to say to someone you consider a friend, and it might hurt your relationship if you have this going on. She was willing to lie to one man. What if she takes that further? Run and don't look back. This woman is vile. God, that's so true. Gary was probably looking forward to the date and was starting to like her and then gets shut down. Not really, but you know what I mean. Does Mary's fiancé not seeing what a total jerk she is? Hey, let's get your friend's hopes up, even though she's in a relationship. Maybe she'll break up with her boyfriend for a guy she's met once. Like, huh? Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my friend that her ignorance is astounding and not removing a post that offends her? Yesterday, it was Father's Day here in the US. I came across a post on Instagram that said something along the lines of, "Thank you, Dad, for coming to this country with nothing and giving me everything." It was supposed to be from the point of view of an immigrant's kid. It resonated with me and I reposted it to my story. A friend of mine that I haven't seen or spoken to in a while messaged me privately and said, "You're white and your parents are rich. What are you talking about, LMFAO?" I wasn't in the mood to justify my actions to her, so I just said, "This post applies to me and I'm very grateful for my dad. Have a great day." She proceeded to go on a tangent about how me posting that was extremely insulting to her because my parents are white and rich, and her parents are from Mexico and I have no idea what I'm talking about, and I've never struggled and neither have my parents who aren't even real immigrants. I proceeded to tell her that no, I didn't struggle growing up because my parents struggled for years before they had me. They both immigrated to the US from Europe with a penny to their name at 18. My dad worked 2 full-time jobs for 20 years, so my mom could go to school and only have to work 1 job instead of 2 like him. They worked their butts off without any help. It wasn't fun for them, or easy at all. By the time I was born, they had finally managed to get a house, and they started a business when I was about 5 that was successful. So growing up, I was very fortunate, and I have been extremely grateful that they worked hard so I could have a good childhood. She then said that my story was nice and all, but they still didn't have to experience being a real immigrant. I'm sorry, what? They had to go through the same process as everyone else, and couldn't go back to their home country for 7 years because they were waiting for citizenship. I asked her to tell me how they weren't real immigrants. She said it didn't count because they came from Europe. I wasn't gonna sit there and play immigrant competition with her, so I told her that her ignorance was astounding, and I was done with this conversation. She replied telling me to take the post down, but I didn't. The post was showing gratitude to an immigrant parent for working hard to provide a good life for their kids, and that's exactly what happened here. So I'm leaving it up. My other friend says I should be more sensitive to the situation and understand what she was trying to say. Am I the a-hole here? What was she trying to say? Are there degrees of being an immigrant? She was immigrant-er? Not the a-hole. I think she's implying that because they don't face racism, they are not real immigrants, which is BS. While she is right that white immigrants and POC immigrants have wildly different experiences immigrating in majority white countries, and just for context, I'm a white immigrant from a white country to a white country, that doesn't mean she could give you a lecture. It's not like you said that you went through discrimination based on your race, you just reposted it because it also factually applied to you. Her going off in some rant about real immigrants is dumb and not relevant at all to what you were saying. Not the a-hole. I don't know where Opie's family is from, but you also have to consider that around the time that I suspected Opie's parents moved here, 80s/90s, a lot of Eastern European immigrants were subject to a whole lot of xenophobia and discrimination, thanks to the still rippling after effects of McCarthyism and anti-communist sentiment in the wake of the Soviet collapse. Of course, this isn't applicable if Opie's parents were from Western Europe, but it's still something to think about. Yep, my wife is from Bulgaria. She still gets the commie moniker tossed at her occasionally. That or people think she's Russian and that she must be a spy using me for information. Not the a-hole. This is not the immigrant Olympics. Bless your parents. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my friends it must be nice to have people pay for stuff? I have 2 former roommates/friends, Michelle and Amy, obviously fake names. Michelle works in retail management and has been with her company for years, so she has a lot of PTO. She's also married to a man who makes a good amount of money. Amy has been on disability since an accident and also has her mom financing most of her life. I'm single, live on my own, and work as a year-round preschool teacher, started this year. Therefore, I have very little PTO. And I don't have a lot of disposable income like they do. We all live in different states. In December, Michelle had a miscarriage. I was there for her as much as I could be from a distance, but I was guilted on more than one occasion that I didn't come to see her. 1, I couldn't afford a flight. 2, I had just finished my probationary period at work and had no personal time off yet. They then tried to plan a few trips which again, I couldn't take time off for. They would get frustrated with me and I'd try to explain I can't take off with no notice. I kept suggesting weekend trips, but they said those weren't worth it. Finally, we all agreed on a trip for the 4th of July weekend. I have some PTO now to take off that Friday and Monday, and I'm obviously off on the weekend days. I was super excited. Then Michelle canceled due to personal reasons. Wouldn't elaborate. And I understood. Said I was there for her, etc. Yesterday, I saw Amy post on Facebook that she can't wait to see Michelle over the 4th of July weekend. I was confused and texted Michelle asking if the trip was still on or not. I didn't get a response for a while, and finally Michelle said they didn't want me coming. They were mad that it took me so long to agree to a trip, and she still wasn't over me not visiting her during her miscarriage. I got really upset and explained myself. Amy chimed in, group chat, and said I care more about work than them. I snapped and said it must be nice to have a husband who can pay for these trips and a mom to pay your bills. They both got mad, and no one's spoken since. I'm starting to feel bad and wonder if I sunk too low. Maybe I'm being a bad friend? Am I the a-hole? Now for the comments. Absolutely not the a-hole. Your friends are not trying to understand you, but still want you to follow their every wish. That doesn't happen. That's very entitled behavior on their part. If they can't even respect you, you'd be better off without them. Sorry that some of us live in a reality and can't drop everything at a moment's notice. Opie needs better friends. And since she doesn't live close, she has a perfect way to break free. Block them, Opie. Make new friends where you live. Not a hole. Your friends are basically ignoring your circumstances while only caring about theirs, putting their needs above your constraints. If they are truly friends, they would have recognized these constraints of yours and be more understanding. It sucks to suffer a miscarriage, but you being there for her doesn't mean you must physically be there. You were there for her morally and also virtually. If she truly needs someone to be there physically, why can't she visit you instead and have a change of pace at the same time? Why must it be you don't have PTO yet to do so? The self-centeredness of both of them is so appalling. I've often wondered this, why don't they come to me? And I think it's because I live nowhere exciting. They both live in big tourist areas, so it's fun. I live close to touristy things, but there's not a whole lot to do. So I guess I'm not exciting enough? Not today, hole. Glad you didn't spend more money on the trip as they are not friends. These witches are horrible, judgmental elitists. Really disgusted in their behavior, but now you have more time to take care of you. Last story is titled, Am I the a-hole for not teaching or helping a child learn how to swim? For context, I'm a 14-year-old girl who is pretty small and could look 12. I go to a private pool with a friend, a 13-year-old boy, a lot due to the hot weather where I am. All the lifeguards know us, and it's pretty fun when I go. More of our friends and their siblings are there most of the time. It's not very crowded, but still pretty big, with a 2-feet side and a deep end is 8 feet. I went a couple of days ago with my friend. When we got there, his sister and her friends were there too. It was just us, as it was Sunday, and most people here are Christians. We did our normal thing, like playing games, etc. This is where the story starts. All of us are really strong swimmers, so we like playing called alligator. Basically, all you do is someone stands on the edge, and everyone else is on one side. And if the person looks back and sees someone swimming, they jump in and chase the person who started and the people who had to go by force. There are more rules, but that's the basic rules. We did a few rounds until when a lady who was in her mid-40s with her 2 kids, one 12 and one 6. She signs in and sees us playing. She puts her 6-year-old in the shallow end alone and tells her 12-year-old something I didn't hear. I make it to the side they're on, and the lady looks at me and she tells me to watch her 12-year-old and tells me her daughter will be playing the game with us. I thought that was a little bold of her, but I was fine with someone playing with us. Note, I had no clue who they were. The girl was pretty scared of the water. I thought it was odd, but she might have been worried about the coldness of the water. She got in and stood on the ladder you used to get in. By the time everyone was on the side, the round started and the girl didn't go. I asked if she okay and she started right when I asked her that. She fell to the bottom. She didn't know how to swim. She was panicking underwater and the lifeguard jumped in to pull her up. We all stopped in our tracks. The lifeguard talked to the lady. After that, the lady came up to me and said that I needed to ask her child if she could swim and teach her. And we should be doing it in the shallow end because the deep end is too dangerous. I told her she should not be letting her child into a pool in the deep end knowing she can't swim. She called me a bad person and left with her kids. There's way more to the story, but that's the basics. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. What is wrong with that, mom? It's not your responsibility to teach a random child to swim. She was way out of line for all of it. You don't even have to play with strangers' kids. Former lifeguard here. Parents go to these pools so they can ignore the kids. Lifeguards essentially babysit 40-plus kids and adults because a lot of them don't know how to act or think they can roughhouse the same as they would at home. At the same time, lifeguards are not paid enough for their skill. This surprises me absolutely 0% that this parent did this. Not at a-hole. Not at a-hole. The mother is an idiot. It's not a child's job to teach another child how to swim. Come to think of it, even though I know how to swim, especially a stranger. What is she thinking? She's lucky you're good kids and not a bunch of bullies, or this could have gone really bad even with a lifeguard there. Hell, even if Opie was a lifeguard, this wouldn't fly. When I was a lifeguard, we would tell parents they had to be in the water if their child couldn't swim. A lifeguard's job is to watch the whole pool in case of emergencies, not babysit one particular child. Also, it's not okay to even put a child in a situation that could lead to drowning, like this mom did. Not at a-hole. For context, I'm a 14-year-old girl who is pretty small and could look 12. The lady came up to me and said that I needed to ask her child if she could swim and teach her. Even if you were a 42-year-old Olympic swimmer playing in the pool, rather than a 14-year-old kid, that a-hole mom doesn't have the right to tell you that you have to do anything for or with her kids. I can only hope that this a-hole mom doesn't get her kids killed by dumping her parental responsibilities on total strangers.